Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fleetcast. And yet again, I'm joined by the lovely Endy, and we are going to be reviewing episode 3 and 4. I forgot then 3 and 4 of the animated series. So it's been interesting. Obviously, we reviewed last week episode 1 and 2, and they got some pretty solid scores. We'll see what happens this week. How are you doing, Endy?
I'm doing just great. Always glad to be here. Always glad to be with you. Because you
Oh.
call me lovely. No, no, no. You're the lovely
Ah,
one.
thank you. So, what have you been up to this week? Have you been watching anything?
um, the only stuff I've been watching, other than the animated series,
Yeah.
uh, found out that Pluto TV has a 24/7 Godzilla channel. So I've just been watching Godzilla,
Is
and I
there
keep
enough?
saying I need to.
Is there enough for
Yeah,
to fill a 24-hour
more than,
things you
more than.
learn? What have I been
Okay.
watching this week? Oh, this week, because The Traitors have finished. If anyone who doesn't know, I binge watched 2 seasons of The Traitors in under a week. And it's changed my life. If you haven't seen the Traitors UK edition, I would highly recommend watching it on BBC America, I think, or sailing the pirate seas. I would 100% recommend watching it. I think, what have I been watching mostly? I've been watching daytime TV. I have been binge
Oh
watching
no.
quite a lot of daytime TV because it was one of those feel good things, and yeah, so it's been that kind of week. But yeah, so I think watching the animated series was a joy. So we watched this week. We watched the One of Our Planets is Missing and the Lorelei Signal. Um, and obviously, One of Our Planets is Missing is the third episode. But before we get into that, let's just go through our disclaimer. So, all the opinions expressed today in this episode are ours and ours alone. We do not represent anyone else. It is all personal. If you do not agree with these opinions, please move along. We are big believers in no toxic Trek and no toxic fandom. You can just move along and express your opinions elsewhere. So, getting into this episode.
Well, we always like a
Uh,
healthy discussion, at least. As
I
long as the opinions are respectful.
Yes, but I
But
find
yes.
that a lot of opinions people can't have a discussion in Star Trek, and they make it quite toxic, especially around the original series and the animated series. So it's easier if they just carry along. I actually have a fact about this episode because I connected some of the names when I was watching the start of this episode. Obviously, so this is the third episode. One of Our Planets is Missing, and it's actually written by Mark Daniels, um,
Hmm.
which I kind of liked. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it's directed by Hal Sutherland. And this episode, it's interesting. It's another one that kind of jumps straight into the action. The Enterprise encounters a giant cloud that consumes planets in its path. Um, and they realize that it's heading to a Federation colony governed by a Starfleet officer who's retired, called Robert Wensley. Um,
Wesley from the Ultimate Computer.
yes, I didn't twig that until right at the end, because obviously I haven't seen that episode. I haven't seen a lot of the lore behind it.
Okay,
Um,
you do need to watch that one because that's the one where Daystrom first shows up.
yeah, but as we've discussed in the previous episode, I very much struggle with the original series.
Hence why we need to watch it together.
Well, me and Emu are going to be watching more episodes. But he is obviously dealing with
Real life.
real life, and his slow journey towards becoming a dad. So yeah, so we haven't got back to watching our next 3 sets of episodes, but we've decided to watch the animated series instead. I found the jump straight into the action less discombobulating than the previous time. I don't know whether it's because I've watched a couple more episodes and I'm kind of used to the let's get to it. But I found it kind of, yeah, I kind of didn't find it quite as confusing, and I actually quite enjoyed the jump into the action. But I did find the fact that they chose a red cloud interesting because it reminded me of the vampire cloud.
Yes, there's a lot. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
similar
it,
to that. There's a lot. I mean, honestly, the thing is that this episode, there's so much that it has in common with so many other episodes of Trek, and so much that it will later influence.
yeah,
It's great. And yeah, as you said, the vampire cloud, also the V'ger cloud. Obviously that one's blue, but still, you've
yeah,
got that this huge, you know, consuming cloud, and even the planet killer
yeah,
to some degree. And that's the thing is you've got these huge things, and um, and this is not an uncommon plot point in Star Trek.
yeah,
Where they first think it's a galactic cloud or a nebula, and then they find out, and that's why I would rate it the way I do. But I don't know which funny rating you gave it, but we'll see what the special rating is, and I'll give it my special rating at the end.
you'll have to wait and see. Yeah, so obviously Kirk contacts Wesley to tell him that this cloud is on its way. And I kind of this part of this episode kind of really got to me because I was like, they realize they've only got a time to evacuate the planet, and they've only got enough time and starships to evacuate, a tiny portion
But
of the planet's children. And I was like,
and I love
oh,
that,
it
and I
kind of,
love that thing about Bob Wesley, where as a Starfleet officer, as someone, have you made a decision about who's leaving? There is no
yeah,
decision.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
And that's
He doesn't hesitate, but I kind of was
mhm.
like, oh,
And the fact that his own daughter wasn't going to be on the ship,
yeah,
you know. And again, that's the thing. This may be a 24-minute episode compared to the 40 minutes of the original series mostly.
hmm,
Um, but the fact that they managed to pack that in, to get that much in. Um, Also, this is the first time that Lieutenant Arix is named and
yes.
speaks.
I need to know more about him. My note,
Do
literally,
you
the first part of my note literally
do you
says, I
know who?
need to know more.
Yes. Do you know who Lieutenant Arix is voiced by?
Scotty.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah. I kind of looked on Wikipedia when I was doing it, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that explains it because he doesn't have as many lines in the animated series, so they've given him another character. I'm guessing this was my theory, and my head canon.
Oh no, actually, he becomes the workhorse for this series. He really becomes the workhorse and generic male voice, just like Majel becomes the generic female voice,
Oh, okay, that's
as we'll see
interesting.
later.
Yeah,
Um,
and obviously the Captain Kirk flies the ship inside the creature in the side of the cloud in attempt
well,
to
yeah.
stop it. Um, and they come inside and they're kind of avoiding obstacles. And they're going through chamber to chamber, and the ship begins to lose power. Um, the chamber that they kind of get stuck in. It kind of takes Scotty and McCoy to work out what's kind of going on. And
Mhm.
I think the visuals of this episode, as we're going through, I'm going to call it the cloud. As we're going through the
Yes.
cloud, is amazing. They would not have been able to achieve that
Again,
in live
this is
action.
one of those. I mean, they might have been able to do the matte painting type stuff because a lot of it is the same kind of matte painting style that you would see.
Yeah,
But yeah, as a bottle episode, because that's what this is. This is just a bottle
yeah,
episode, but it's done so well, and the animation is used to present the Enterprise so well.
yeah.
that
It's so well done, and I really
yes,
kind of like. I actually felt like I was inside a human body. I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is a little bit of a science class. I'm learning
yes,
about I'm learning about
it
bodily functions. Oh, this is cool. Um,
it's kind
but
of like that Magic School Bus episode, right?
that is 100% what I thought it was. I
Yes,
thought we were on the Magic School Bus and we were going on an
we never
adventure.
did this. We never did this on my old starship.
Yeah, it's very much like that. And obviously
Yeah.
you've got the scene of where they're in what McCoy calls the small intestines.
Yes.
And the ship is having to go very, very
Yeah.
very slowly.
But
Um,
you realize, by the way, if they went in the way they did, and they went into the small intestine, and they went out through the sensory
yeah,
grid, you know where they went into the cloud from?
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, and
uh,
obviously
that's a one way. That's supposed to be a one way exit.
yeah,
Oh well.
and then they kind of get to the chamber that contains protrusions, and they
Yes.
realize that it's pure antimatter, which Scotty beams aboard in a special container and uses it
Mhm.
to replenish the warp drives because obviously they're losing
And
power as they're going. And I actually think
and
this is genius.
it, it is. And also, did you notice something? Another thing they could never have done in live action. This is the first time that we see the inside of the engines.
Yeah,
This is the first time we see main engineering,
yeah,
the antimatter chamber, the whole nine. This is the first time we see it.
yeah,
And yeah, it's absolutely genius on Scotty's part. It's proof of when Kirk is at his best. Because actually, when any captain is at their best, is when they're acting as a force multiplier for the
yeah.
people behind them. So Kirk just making sure that Scotty and McCoy and Spock are just all on a line,
Yeah.
like, okay, so
The
this is a life form. What do we
the
do?
only thing I really didn't like about this scene, and I kind of wrote it in capital letters, was the
Mhm.
fact that they were on the bridge when they were on the bridge and they were deciding what they wanted to do, and the fact Kirk went, "Okay, gentlemen, what are we going to do?" And I'm like, "Hello, excuse me, your comms operator, who is the best officer, she sat there and they don't acknowledge her," and I got really annoyed.
Um, well, okay, there's two things about that. There's two things about that. One, in military terms, Mr. can be non-gendered.
But no, they said gentlemen.
And yeah, but it's also here's the other problem. Uhura, she is a wonderful person. She is a great leader, and we'll get
She's an
into her in
amazing
a minute.
Starfleet officer.
She is, and we'll
I
get
will die
into
on
her
that
in a
hill.
minute. Yes, agreed. I'm not disagreeing, but she's a communications officer first, last, and always. Okay, she's not a scientist.
No.
She's not a doctor. She's not a engineer. These are not her specialties.
But
Okay.
but she suggested stuff like a minute later
Yes.
that
Yes. Well, yeah, but the point is that Kirk is looking at the specialists and saying, "Okay, gentlemen, cut the chatter. What do we do?
but I find it
Okay, great, you
frustrating
figured
because
out this. Now what?
but
Because the thing is that
I find it
okay,
very
to me,
difficult to watch because Archer was never like that with his comms operator. You know, Hoshi was
I
very much involved. When they were
okay.
having meetings, she was
I
involved.
mean, okay, the Uhura was and wasn't because the thing is at that point in time also part of what she was doing was making sure that there wasn't panic on the planet.
Mm.
Because realize she's got a job to do at
Yeah,
this point.
I
In this
I
episode,
find it really
she's not the
hard.
specialist. Okay. And I mean, and the thing is that if we had watched the next episode after these two, which I'll tell you what that is after the next episode, because you would be kicking yourself for not watching episode five. Um,
I didn't have time.
she,
I ran out of
well,
time.
24 minutes.
I, I was still watching it at 12:30 today.
Oh dear. Well,
I
then
watched
we'll
two
need to.
episodes last night and two episodes this morning.
And here I just binged them.
I had to go to sleep,
Yes.
man. I had to be up early.
Oh, yeah, you did. Okay, but um, no, but this episode is definitely a Kirk, Spock, Scotty McCoy episode. Uhura gets some lines.
She does.
Arex gets some lines,
I just,
which,
mm,
but, but the thing is that you notice they also don't include Sue. Okay, here's the thing. The reason why it doesn't tick me off, they don't include Sulu, Arex, or Uhura in that thing. Because what Kirk is asking at that moment is, okay, nerds, we
yeah.
figured out what the problem is.
I think
What do we
maybe,
do?
I think it maybe could have been phrased differently. And I think if it was done
Mm,
now, if it was done, 2024, yeah, well, 2024. I had a moment then. I was like, oh,
yes.
2020.
Yes, it's 2024. Yeah,
Yeah, it wouldn't have been phrased quite like that.
true. True. He
I
was
think,
using sort of 1970s military.
yeah, and this is
And
my
really,
issue, and this is why I struggle ever so slightly with Kirk as a character. But it kind of I love how it kind of moves on, and
yes,
you get her suggesting ideas, and obviously
yes.
Spock is listening to her, and it kind of
Oh, yeah.
it
No, she's,
it leads into my favorite part of this episode for the comedy value. I know it's a very serious subject,
yeah.
Spock is, trying to communicate with this
But,
being,
oh, God, it is funny. Yes.
but it's the imagery around it is just so funny. And
Yes.
I now refer to this as the hell spot moment.
Yes. This is the Hail Spock.
This
Yes.
is a hell spot.
Absolutely. Because, yeah, you absolutely get that, that moment of the last minute Spock save. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of
Um,
I kind of call it hell spot because of the fact that he's like this when he's doing his telepathic. He's like this.
yes.
And I'm just like,
Yes.
what are you doing? But then my brain was like, have we ever seen this before? Has a Vulcan ever managed to do the telepathic thing outside? It kind of just felt a little bit,
But here's the problem. Come back to it. Think about this. Okay. And you'll find, as weird as this sounds, when else does he do something like this?
I don't think,
V'ger.
in where?
In the motion picture, when he mind melds with V'ger.
But I would have said that was slightly different. It's been a
Hmm.
very long time since I've seen the films. Very, very long
Okay, then we're
time.
going to need to fix that.
Um, it kind of just felt a little bit strange, and I was like, normally that's how like betazoids deal with situations. They don't
Oh,
need to be
yeah.
touched. They don't need to be touching. Um, but yeah, it just felt ever so slightly strange to me, and it's obviously now known in my headcanon as the Hell Spock
Okay.
moment. But I did like this scene. I found it, even though we have another episode and it's another disembobulated voice, um, there's no actual imagery for this person other than it's a cloud or
But
that.
it feels very different
Yeah,
from the
it felt more
from
like
the
the creature was a child.
mm, yeah, or just not aware that there were other life forms.
Yeah,
Kind of like Gum 2, kind of like later beings. And you noticed who voiced it, right?
yeah.
And I kind of wonder, is it that it was talking through the voice of the computer,
hmm
or was it Maisel's voice? I always wonder about that.
I couldn't quite work out what it was, but
Yeah.
I
But
found for the fact that it was another disembobulated voice, it was very different, and I kind of preferred
mhm,
this to
yes,
the first episode. I very
the
much,
prick. Yes, you got
yeah,
it.
I kind of felt more sorry for this person.
Mhm,
Where
yeah,
this other creature was saying to me, I'm lonely, I'm lonely.
obey me. Yeah, obey me, obey me. Oh,
Yeah,
wait, I'm lonely. It's like, yeah, maybe if you hadn't been a bully and gone,
Yeah,
obey me, you wouldn't be so lonely. This
yeah,
creature is just like, I'm hungry. I need to eat.
yeah. And
It's like,
obviously
yeah, but there's other people down there. Ding
and obviously
dong.
the creature
Oh
kept,
shit. Okay.
yeah, and the
You
creature
know?
kept going, explain.
Right.
And
It's not malice. The,
yeah,
the fact that this is one of those great episodes with a space creature in Star Trek where it's not malicious.
yeah,
It's not malign. It doesn't want to eat people. It is not naturally like carnivorous.
yeah, it just the whole
It's
vibe
just
of the thing just felt very, very different, and I
yes.
kind of felt very
And
sorry for the creature, and the fact
yes.
that it was
And-
instantly, as soon as it realized, it stopped, it backed off, and it was like, okay, I'll go
oh
home.
shit. Okay, I'll figure out what yeah, I'll go back where I came from or I'll figure out something else. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
And I mean, the thing is I love also there's a couple of Kirk moments that I love in this episode, which you may not agree with because I know you don't like Kirk,
sorry.
uh but the fact that he says, okay, there's millions of people on that planet, arm the torpedoes if we have to.
Yeah,
We'll destroy the brain if we have to. And it's like we can't and Spock comes back and says, too wide an attack surface, we can't do it.
mm,
Unless we convert the entire ship to energy
yeah,
and do it. And McCoy's like, you're talking about blowing up the ship. I believe that's what I said, Doctor.
yeah,
And Kirk doesn't even flinch,
yeah,
just immediately calls Scotty and says, arm the self destruct. And Scotty, again, no argument, no
yeah,
decision. It's the same thing as Bob Wesley on the planet. There is no decision.
yeah,
You know, Kirk will sacrifice 430 souls to save millions.
yeah,
And everyone on that ship is fully aware of what they're about to do
yeah,
and is fully aware of the risks. And there's no panic,
yeah,
there's no nothing. It happens.
yeah,
And that's one thing that I love about that. And um, when he's doing this is kind of McCoy. This is calling back to sort of what McCoy says in Wrath of Khan. When Kirk says, "What did I do?" and McCoy's like, "What you always do."
yeah,
Turns death into a fighting chance to live.
yeah,
That's what this is. Where Kirk is, you know, he's ready.
yeah,
He's ready if he has to,
yeah,
but he's looking for every alternative. And that hail Spock moment happens, thankfully, but he was ready to do it.
yeah,
And even still, he doubted it slightly, just for a moment, and just enough to say to McCoy, "Am I doing the right thing?"
yeah,
Because he knows he's killing a life form. That's the thing. It's not, "Am I doing the right thing killing all the people on the Enterprise?" No.
yeah,
Am I doing the right thing killing this thing? You know, I want, and he quotes himself from Taste of Armageddon. Again, when I say that this is the building blocks of the continuity of Star Trek, I mean it
yeah,
because you've got the reference to the Ultimate Computer. You've got the reference now to the Taste of Armageddon, where Kirk says, "I once said that man rose up from his primitiveness by saying, I will not kill
yeah,
today." And, you know, taking that moment and saying, "I will not kill today," and the depth of it's almost as potent as, in City on the Edge of Forever. The three most important words ever said are, "Let me help," even more so than "I love you."
yeah,
You know, that that's what defines us as moral beings,
yeah,
as good people. And I love that Star Trek sticks to its morality here.
yeah,
That the good of the many is greater than the good of the one, but that killing is never something to be taken lightly.
yeah. Don't
It's
get me
just,
wrong, I find that I prefer Kirk in the animated series compared
oh
to
yeah,
any other version of him that I have seen, whether it be Strange New Worlds, the original series, the JJ verse. I prefer this Kirk, and I hate the fact that I like this Kirk because it's still William Shatner.
why?
I really, really don't like the man. But I do
Oh,
like.
okay. William Shatner, the man, is a jerk.
He is, and
Okay,
I know, and I think if I was watching
there's
Trek
a
at a different stage of my life, I probably wouldn't have all the feels that I have around it. Um, but I find it very hard to separate the pair. But I very much do enjoy the version of him in the animated series because
yes,
the acting isn't OTT, it's just his voice. And I think the animators have done a very good job of making sure that it's not OTT. Um,
yes,
yeah, I very much prefer the animated series over the 3 episodes that I've seen of the original series. That
agreed,
might
agreed.
change. That might change as I watch the next lot of episodes. Um,
Okay,
but I very much do find myself enjoying the animated series.
yes.
There's quite a lot of good things about this series that I like. So, how many scores are you giving this episode?
This one gets the comedic rating of "There's coffee in that nebula" out of 10,
Well,
and a 3 out of 5 for the standard rating.
okay. So the scoring for this episode is Hell Scott. It's the image of Scott going.
Yes, absolutely. Just yeah.
I thought it was the best part of this episode, and it made me laugh, even though the episode was very serious. It did make me laugh, and actually, I have given the same score as this because I think for it being just a standalone episode, I think it was very good. It was, yeah, it was a standalone episode. It was just a bottle
Exactly.
episode, but it did give me the right vibes that Star Trek should give me. So it didn't deserve a low score or anything. So
No,
yeah,
no. This is this is a very good standard episode of Trek.
yeah,
You know, I'm not going to give the same glowing, enthusiastic endorsement that I do to Yesteryear,
yeah,
but another one where if you're interested in Star Trek, this is not a bad place to start, and it's definitely not a bad episode to watch.
yeah. And I think the scores that we've given it are quite similar to what other places have given the scores. You know,
Probably, yeah.
I kind of looked at my scores compared to other places, and you've got Trek Navigator called the episode one of the best shows that the animated Trek spin-off did. It was a
Fair.
highly satisfying episode that nicely encapsulated Star Trek philosophy, and it
Yeah,
gave it a
that's
score
exactly.
of 7 out of 10. So I think our score is very, very similar in reflection to
Yeah,
that.
and I
Um,
forget what EAS gave it, but I want to say he probably put it right in the middle as well
yeah.
because he was fairly conservative on these. Let's see. Oh no, he actually went 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay,
But I
so
think, yeah, so roughly if
but
our scores were out of 10,
yeah,
yeah,
I think 6 out of 10 definitely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
I
think
I definitely think 6, 7. Yeah,
yeah, so I think the fact that we've done the scores like that, I think
yes,
yeah, I think that it was a good episode. It's the type of
yes,
episode that anyone can jump into, which I like. I like that
agreed.
being that type of episode. Um, do we want to go on to the next
The
episode?
Lorelei signal. Yes. Now, I
Yes.
I want to start with this. Because this is the episode in between me and where my one of my favorite episodes.
Okay.
When I go into it, it's always like, is it as good as I hope it is? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yes, 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 absolutely. As I
Okay.
keep watching. And one thing that I love about it is if you know literary references, okay, you know exactly what this episode is going to be just from the title.
I didn't. So I had no idea what I was going into.
Okay.
Like literally, I wasn't actually watching the episode properly at the beginning, so I didn't see the title. I didn't see any of the, because I was watching it as I was trying to type at the same time, so I had it on Netflix. So
Mm-hmm.
I was only half listening to it, and then obviously me
Gotta
typing
watch it.
kind of went a bit peaked on because I was like, right, I actually need to watch it because it looks like a really good
Yes,
episode.
it
Um,
really is, though.
yeah,
It
so
really is.
this episode kind of, yet again, it kind of starts with them investigating a sector of space
Hmm.
where starships have disappeared every 27 years. Um,
No, it was 27.364. So
yeah,
it's technically every
I wasn't gonna, I
27 in
wasn't,
3 months.
I wasn't gonna try and get into that, but yeah, every
Yes.
27 ish years,
Yes.
starships were disappearing, but it
Yes.
wasn't just,
Klingon and human.
yeah,
Klingon and Federation. Yeah.
yeah. So
And
I found that quite interesting that they mentioned the Klingons in
yes,
this type of thing.
the Klingons show up for real in the next episode.
Okay, that
But yes. Um, by the way, for those who don't know, the Lorelei, um, not just a Blackmore's Night song. You should listen to it if you haven't. Uh, it's actually a German myth
okay,
of a woman who was scorned and became a siren in the Rye River,
okay,
set to poetry by Heinrich Heine in like the 1600s. So
yeah,
I
I would
love that.
have.
Again, this is a Saturday morning cartoon in a lot of ways, right? But it's still Star Trek, and they are just unflinching in using those references, you know, and using really deep titles where
Yeah,
if you catch it, it makes so much more sense and it makes the episode so much better. And it's kind of like, for the world is hollow and I have touched the sky, and how sharper than a serpent's tooth from later season and stuff like that. Um, where, if you know where they're coming from, it's there. And I love it. Now, yeah, getting into this episode, it's great. The opening is fun, the 27 years thing, and then they find out what's going on. I love how spaced out all the guys sound.
yes. This opening sort of couple of minutes I really enjoyed. I
Yes.
really liked how when the signal appeared,
Mm-hmm.
all the blokes were like, "Ooh, what's that noise?" And like you're,
Yep.
I can never say her name, and it's really bad because I can sing it when I
Which
sing
Uhura,
Yahora.
which
But do you know so
yeah,
I can actually sing her name because I sing the
yes,
song like at least twice
yeah,
a day, but I can't.
yeah.
I really struggle to pronounce it,
Oh
which is
dear,
one
but yeah,
thing.
yeah, but no, Uhura is just like looking at the guy. Uhura and Chapel are just looking at the guys like, uh,
Like, what is
guys,
yeah? But what
hello.
I like is the fact that she calls Chapel onto the bridge, and she's like,
Yep.
can you observe them? Like, can you watch the blokes?" And Chapel's very much like, "Yeah, something's not right here."
Yeah,
Um, and then
because
obviously they kind of then start hallucinating, and it's all
yes,
blonde hair and blue eyes, and I'm like,
and did you notice though that the woman that Spock hallucinated was not T'Pring?
yes,
That's one thing I love, that it was not T'Pring. The
yeah,
one thing I disliked is that it should have been Chapel.
yes. But we'll get into that because I have
We'll
so
get into
many
that.
feels.
Oh God, yes.
I have so many
There
feels
is
over later in this
there are
episode, but
feels.
let's
There
hold
are
that
feels
thought.
toward the middle of the episode, yes.
Yes. And obviously they follow the music to the planet, and then they decide to
Mhm.
beam down. So Kirk,
Yes.
Spock, McCoy, and then Lieutenant Carver. They all
Yes.
decide to beam down to the
I,
source of the
I
signal.
have him in my notes as instant doomed red shirt.
Well,
He
yeah,
doesn't actually die, but
yeah,
he is the doomed. By the way, I love that already. That in this series, we've had two times that they've beamed over with a red shirt, and the red shirt has lived.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if the theme continues, but I quite enjoy the fact that we are meeting these red shirts and they don't die.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes,
helps my little heart.
yes,
But yeah, they beam down to this
yes.
planet and
Crewman
they
number
meet,
6.
yeah,
Right?
and they meet these beautiful women.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, they are actually drawn quite well. Though
yeah,
I find it interesting that all of these beautiful women have the voice of Majel Roddenberry. It's
yeah,
almost like Gene
I believe
decided
it.
who was the most attractive woman he knew. Oh wait, because you've
But
heard the story, but
I
you've
do
heard the story
prefer
from the
these
con.
women as the women of the corn because of their blonde hair and blue eyes. Because they slightly freak me out because of the fact that they do have the strange voice. They're very similar.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously these women kind of seem very lethargic, and they seem to be rapidly, you know, they kind of they kind of seem very lethargic and they're celebrating the arrival of these men. And this is the
And you
part,
definitely get this creepy vibe of
yeah, this is why
they're gonna
this is
bang.
why I call
Oh
them the
wait,
women of the corn because it
where
does
where
feel,
I just call them the siren babes.
yeah, sirens very much work as well.
'Cause
Obviously,
that's the reference here.
yeah, it
Um,
kind of just feels very, very strange. And this is the part where I kind of get a little bit annoyed at the men because I'm like, they are not acting like Starfleet officers. I know they're under the
oh
siren
no,
spell, but they very much just
you
don't act
you
like Starfleet
notice
officers.
no. Well, that's the whole point is that they're not acting like that's what clued Uhura in on
Yeah,
there's something wrong. Wait, Kirk's looking at women who aren't me. I'm pissed.
yeah. It just felt,
and
yeah,
but you notice Spock was the one who kind of was able to keep himself most preserved from
yeah.
that. Like, Captain, we really shouldn't get closer. Oh, come on, Spock. There's no immediate danger.
Yeah, it was just kind of,
And Spock's just like, I'm going along with this because if I don't, you're going to die.
yeah. And obviously,
You know?
Spock realizes, and Kirk kind of just brushes brushes him off, and I'm like, I've even put on my note, "What the fuck, Kirk?" Because I'm
Yes.
like, no, listen to him. And then I kind of
Yes.
get annoyed at the sirens because I'm like, why do they know his name is Mr. Spock? Why are they calling him Mr. Spock? And it kind of just gets,
And then they find out why.
yeah, it kind of just gets creepier and creepier because I'm like, why did they go to the mill? Why are they not running? And then I'm like, and then they're all going on about how the women are radiating light. And I'm like,
Hmm.
and then it kind of goes to how the fact that they're knocked out. Obviously, all these
Yep.
blokes are knocked out, which brings me to my favorite Scotty moment. And obviously
Oh
he's
God, when he's singing, his singing
yes,
makes this episode. If this wasn't a great episode already, if I didn't know how much I love this episode for what's about to happen, Scotty singing would just, it's
yes,
perfect.
yeah,
Scotty singing on the bridge. And then Uhura does not interrupt him if you notice.
no,
She lets him finish singing
yeah.
and then says, Mr. Scott, I'm taking over the bridge.
He doesn't even argue.
Very, very kind of you, lass.
Yeah,
Like, he knows he's zoned out. He
yeah,
knows he's not with it.
yeah,
Because, by the way, I give that credit to the way he was in the series, where he drank the alien under the table,
yeah.
you know, and that sort of thing. Scotty is the
I
one
love
who
this.
understands being in an altered state of mind
Yeah, I just love
more
the
than the
fact
other
that
guys.
Uhura and Chapel they take over and
Oh
they
yeah,
basically they've kind of take over the bridge, they take over the
yep.
ship because they've realized that
Well,
something's
actually,
very wrong.
and another presaging of stuff from the movie, where last episode we had Spock mind melding with a weird alien thing. In this episode, Christine Chapel becomes CMO of the Enterprise briefly, but
Yeah.
before she becomes a doctor in the
Yes.
motion picture.
Yes.
This is where it starts.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and this is also where we get a couple of forward references to Star Trek 3
Yes. But also
because
I
Hmm?
really like Chapel as a character. I very much love her in Strange New Worlds. I very much like the relationship her and Spock have. I know you
I
haven't
like,
seen it.
yeah,
You
I
haven't
like
seen it.
TAS. No, I have not. I
No.
like TIS Chapel. TOS Chapel, her two big plots in original series are that she has an abusive ex who turns himself into an android to bang a babe who's wearing an X of fabric and nothing else.
Okay.
Uh, and that she falls in love with Spock.
Okay.
Those are her two big plots in
So
original series.
in
In animated
Strange New
series, I
Worlds,
like her.
you would love Strange New Worlds because yes, she does fall in love with Spock. Her and Spock have a relationship, but the first time that we ever meet her, she is crawling through Jeffrey's tubes trying to track down a patient who has escaped sickbay and has avoided his inoculations. It is brilliant. But we also learn more about her from the Klingon War. Um,
Okay.
I would highly recommend watching Strange New Worlds. I think you would probably really enjoy it.
I
Um,
saw the pilot, I think,
but I also
and
like the fact that when they have the musical episode,
they have a musical episode.
it's the best episode ever. Ender, you've got to watch it. This is what I
How
mean.
does
I
okay? How
literally
does it
sing the
how
music
does it stack? How does it stack up against Once More with Feeling?
up there.
It is.
Yeah,
Is the closing number anywhere near as good as Something to Sing About?
yeah.
Okay, I have to watch it.
You have to watch it. You can
You've
get
convinced
you can
me.
get pretty much all the videos on YouTube. You have to watch it to the point
I
that
have BitTorrent.
me and my daughter sing them at least once a day. At least once a day
Nice. Okay,
because it's.
I've got BitTorrent. I'll have to look it up.
But the song with Chapel is basically. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's basically
Please don't.
her song.
Mhm.
It's very much about her and her dreams and everything. Chapel
Nice.
in Strange New Worlds is done very, very well. And watching the animated series, it's very
You
much
start to see that.
it, yeah, it's very much the same version that I know from
Mhm.
Strange New Worlds. It's not the version that
Okay.
we've met in the original series. It's a lot.
Hmm.
It's so much better.
This is well. See, this is the thing. This is the growth from the original series into the movies. So I kind of like it, and I also love the way that Uhura just becomes what she is. Because here's the thing: every time that Uhura has been in a situation to take control in TOS, she's done it. She's done her job, and she's just gotten it fixed.
Hmm.
Um, hell, I don't know. Did you watch The Naked Time?
No,
The Naked, yeah,
maybe.
you did. Psi 2000 virus, the one that they remade for the second episode of Next Generation, where
No,
Sulu is running down the hall with a sword.
no. The only
Okay,
episodes that I have
you need to
seen
watch
so
that.
far are let me find the episodes.
Okay,
So the only episodes I've seen so far are oh, where's the list, man?
well,
I
the
don't
thing
know
is
where
that
the list is.
in
Trouble with
in the Naked,
Tribbles,
yes,
The
which
City on
is
the Edge
yeah,
of Forever,
yes.
and
Oh, Balance of Terror,
and I've seen
Balance of
another
Terror.
one. I've seen the one where we meet well we don't meet, but we realise that Kirk has a brother.
Oh, Operation Annihilate.
Annihilation. Yeah, that's
Yep,
those are the
Operation Annihilate. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
those are the four episodes that I've
Okay,
seen.
yes. Okay. But no, with this, in the in that episode, when Sulu is running around thinking he's D'Artagnan,
Okay.
right? He grabs Uhura around the waist and says, "I'll save you, fair maiden." And Uhura just looks at him, "Sorry, neither." You know, like,
I
no,
yeah,
she's not fair skinned,
this
and she
episode
is.
very much shows Yahora at her best.
Oh yes, yes, and actually, I love that. She just takes charge, and realize this is the first fight scene in this series so far. And it's not Kirk with his dukes up getting his shirt. It's just Uhura coldly gunning some broad down.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like,
So obviously, getting back to the
does
episode
not even.
properly,
Yes.
obviously Uhura's and Chapel have taken control of the ship, and then obviously it goes back to the planet where we see the boys. They're trying to gather their strength. They escape the compound that, like, the room that they're in, the bedroom that they're in, and they race outside and they jump in a giant urn to hide.
Well, they need cover. It was
Yes,
the only place they could think of.
they climb into this giant urn to hide, which I find just quite funny. I like the imagery of the fact that the group have aged.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
it's
that
the
was,
same thing as the Deadly Years from the original series. Yeah.
yeah, it was very well done.
Yes.
The imagery. Um, but obviously Spock hasn't aged as much, which I find was quite good.
Mhm.
So he offers to go and retrieve the communicators, um, which he does just about, and then he tells the ship to send an all-female rescue party, and boy,
Which,
do they come down as a
yeah.
female security force, and
Oh,
I
yo.
really,
And
really like
Uhura
this.
does not even play. Just like, give us back the men. What? No, get them.
Yeah, so that, the security force stun.
Just because yeah, Uhura and just does not fucking play.
No,
Just guns these broads down in cold blood. Like, okay, you don't want to do this.
yeah,
It's also the thing that I love is that this is also kind of a call forward again to Star Trek 3. She will hold a phaser on anyone that gets between
oh
her
yeah,
and James T. Kirk. Anyone that gets between Uhura and James T. Kirk is getting a phaser pointed at them.
yeah,
Now, if it's Mr. Adventure, he just gets told to go in the closet
yeah.
because he's just an idiot and he's a kid. And she kind of likes it.
Mm,
These broads, she doesn't have any such compunctions.
yeah.
Just down. And then they get Spock. Well, that's where you're going to probably cut in with a comment about Chapel.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this scene and this moment, I really, 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 really kind of like, because
Mm-hmm.
Chapel and Spock kind of have a moment. Um, and I just find it
Where?
really interesting because it harks back to Strange New Worlds. Um, Obviously, I haven't seen them interact in the original series. I can imagine it's probably a little bit more lovey-dovey. Um,
Not really, no.
no, is it
Not at
not?
all.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. I can deal with that. Um, but I find it really interesting that this happened in the animation show, and that it happens in the third episode. And yeah, I just find it really, really fun that they hark back to that, and it's actually
Mhm.
a real moment between them.
Yeah, where Spock goes, Chapel,
Yes,
Christine.
yes,
And Christine doesn't even question it, just like, he's here. I know he's here.
yeah,
And starts pushing buttons like, I
yes,
know he's here.
because there's some
And
type of telepathic
yeah,
telepathy between them, and I really kind of enjoy
meanwhile,
that.
yeah.
Yes,
Meanwhile, Uhura is looking for Kirk, you know, and it's that those connections,
yeah,
um, where they get Spock. Great. Spock is like out, so he can't tell them about the urn.
yeah,
Which, I mean, that's great, right? Great plot contrivance there. Uh, so yes, and then Uhura just again, no games, no, no, uh, diplomacy. Just zaps the vase right next to Theala there,
yeah,
like kind of warning her that could have been your head,
yeah,
and then says, "I will have the ship blow up this temple."
yeah.
if you don't tell me
But
where they are.
I kind of then like how it kind of shifts a little bit, and she shows a little bit more compassion when she realizes what's happened once the supercomputer has kind of told them. She kind of
Yeah, but she
realizes
still doesn't lower her phaser, and she
she
still is like,
doesn't.
okay, where are the guys?
Yeah, she doesn't, but she does offer some type of compassion once they've kind of got the men back, and they've kind of they tell the story of the fact that the sirens are immortal and unaging but cannot reproduce, and so every 27-ish years they must lure men to drain their life force to stay alive. So they kind of locate the landing party, they get them back to the ship, um, which I kind of feel this is the kind of part where I kind of spaced out in this episode because I was a bit like, hmm. They get them back to the ship. They get the headbands off,
Yes,
and then it kind of
but
feels like Spock then becomes yet again has all the answers.
yes, oh yeah, this is definitely another Hail Spock moment.
Yeah.
But did you notice the important line that gets spoken right before they get beamed up? This is the first time that Kirk says, "Scotty, beam us up." This is the
Okay.
only time. This is the only time that Kirk says anything like "Scotty, beam me up."
Okay.
This is the closest, because before that, it's that line is never actually said in Star
Yeah.
Trek.
It's just become
This
this
is the
thing.
closest. Exactly, it's a meme,
Yeah.
but this is the closest. Scotty, beam us up is the closest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. When they find Kirk and McCoy and Ensign Redshirt or Lieutenant Redshirt.
Lieutenant. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Lieutenant Redshirt, because they actually, that's one thing. Did you notice that they actually do the correct braiding on the wrists in all the animation? They actually get it so that you actually can see that the rank insignias. It's really crazy. So
See,
yeah, it's a
I
lieutenant.
I didn't watch this episode with my lens in, so a lot more of these subtle details they would have gone over
Okay.
my head. I
Well,
wouldn't have.
it's not just in this episode, yeah.
Yeah,
But they
I
get
wouldn't have
Lieutenant
noticed.
Redshirt, they get McCoy, they get Kirk.
Okay, but
And
they're able to do this with animation because obviously with when they were filming the original series, they were literally swapping and changing
yep.
um
Oh
uniforms
yeah,
here, there, and everywhere for budget and stuff. So I think, but that's an interesting point that the animation has allowed them to do much more things like this.
yeah.
Um,
But I also love that Chapel goes to McCoy because that's her boss
yeah,
and mentor and friend and you know general partner in crime. Uhura is basically cradling Kirk.
yeah,
I love that they kind of developed that relationship that started in Plato's Stepchildren. Well, actually, it started a little before that.
yeah,
That goes here and goes into Star Trek 3 and so on, where, okay, later on, Uhura and Scotty kind of have a thing in the later movies, but it's obvious that there is something between Uhura and Kirk
well, yeah,
going on.
because she uses obviously once they start using the transporters to
Yes.
get them back to how they used to be, back to their former younger selves.
Mm,
She uses the line of oh, what was it?
you're more handsome than
Yeah,
ever.
you're more handsome, and I've put like this in capital letters. Grr, she said it. Ugh. Um,
Yes. She wants yes. And that's the thing. I love it that this is the beginning of the precedent where if you are between Uhura and James T. Kirk,
yeah,
there is a phaser in your face.
yeah.
I,
It
I
was
I also
a
love that
little
she
bit
takes over.
cringy. It was a little bit cringy.
Oh come on. It's sweet.
No, it was cringy because
How is it
it
cringy?
is. It just is. I was a bit like, really?
How?
You've had all this character development, and then you use that line. I was like, oh,
How is it not character development? Look, she's a woman. She's allowed to hold on. Kirk has been allowed to express that women are beautiful. Why shouldn't she be allowed to
He's,
express that he's
he's when
handsome?
he does it, it's cringy too. I was just like, oh,
Okay,
I just cannot see that Starfleet officers would act like that.
why not?
I just can. It's my
Also, they've known each
compromise.
other. They've known each other and lived together for 5 years.
Yeah, it just felt a bit out there. Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
See, I love it.
but I also like the ending of this episode in the fact that
Yes.
they are going to help the women. They're going to get
Yep.
them off the planet. They're going to
Yep.
move them to another planet. And
That Uhura is the one who shows just that slightest bit of compassion.
yeah,
Like, okay, so McCoy said it's going to be a month or two and you'll be fine. You'll
yeah,
be back to normal. And oh, yeah, we'll send an all female crew
yeah,
and we'll get you to the nearest world
yeah.
and we'll figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, I kind of like this. I like this ending. I think this was my favorite ending out of all the episodes because it
Mhm.
kind of gave me a little bit of closure. I found that apart from yesteryear, I felt like I didn't get any
That's,
closure. Yeah, but
well,
I
no, the thing, the other two are sort of day in the life episodes
yeah,
where, like, Beyond the Farthest Star, it's not closure, it's opening, it's
yeah.
mission, star charting. This is what we're doing. We're doing this. This is our mission.
I just
And
find that
then,
because we don't know what happens to these creatures, it I don't get closure.
okay, where I don't really care as much because the fact that we don't know means that it went on peacefully.
Yeah, I think
But no,
as
but
we
I
said,
love,
very different viewpoints.
yes,
But
but
how
I
many
do enjoy this episode.
Yes, but I did enjoy this episode. What is your score for this episode?
4 out of 5. I don't have a funny one this time.
See, my the score that I've given this is for Yahora's because
Yeah,
I
okay,
think she deserves to be the score system for this episode because
absolutely,
she did
absolutely.
so well.
How about two? How about two hers, two chapels,
Well, I've got the images for
for a
you
total of
now.
4?
Um, I have given the same score actually, which I found quite funny that the fact that each episode we've actually given it the same scores, but we've came at it
Yes.
from different angles.
Mm-hmm.
So I've given this score because I found this a very, very satisfying episode. The fact that there was some girl power on display, um, and the fact that I felt that we kind of saw Chapel and Yohara at their best. And
Yes.
because I've watched Strange New Worlds, I kind of see it as a reflection of those characters slightly more than the original
Well,
series characters.
I mean, in many ways, realize that later Trek, the amount of references that later Trek makes to animated series Trek,
Yeah,
even though officially it's not canon, blah, 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 doesn't matter. This is the building blocks of continuity in Trek.
yeah,
This is where Trek becomes more than just a show.
yeah,
Um, this is where a lot of the zines start up in 73. I think 73 or 74 was when Starfleet Battles was created. You know, so you're looking at, this is where it starts. This is where Star Trek stops being a show with a couple of novels and a little bit of a trickle here and there into being the massive sci-fi thing that causes uh, Lucas and Fox to then take on Star Wars in 77
yeah.
to do and then to have I forget who it was that did it was Arthur C. Clarke, I think, and somebody else with and Kubrick doing 2001. You know, this is where a lot of that
Yeah,
starts, and yeah, and we're seeing the beginning of it here. Now the thing is that this is also a great episode because in some ways, okay, how do I say this? This is one of those things about the first 5 episodes of this series being amazing. We've only watched 4, but the first 5 are amazing. 6 I've watched. It's not my favorite.
Okay.
Um, but it's one of those where whatever. Um, but every time that you think, okay, there's an episode that I want to say, but there's a roadblock in front of it. We go from strength to strength. If we go back to yesteryear, right, where you look at that and go, how do they top this? How do they continue from here?
Yeah.
And then one of our planets is missing, and they don't try to top it. They just do a Star Trek episode, and it works.
Yeah.
And then you look at, from the future perspective of what comes after the Lorelei signal, where you've had, okay, the greatest episode in all, the greatest episode in all of Star Trek, a very well done bottle episode. And then you have this episode that develops Uhura and Chapel. And
Hmm.
the first fight scene in the entire series here, in the entire animated series, is not, your standard Kirk with the hammer blow,
Yeah.
Spock with the neck pinch. I mean, technically the fight with the Lamachik counts as a fight scene, but I mean, I,
It's
you
forgettable.
know what I mean? Yeah, it's a monster fight scene. It's
Yeah.
He's fighting a monster. He's not fighting people.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that rescue scene it is great, but it's not a fight scene.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
I very much
but
like
this,
this
yeah,
episode.
I
And
love it.
I will definitely be continuing watching the animated series.
Yes,
So
you're
this
gonna love the next episode.
So yeah, so I think this might be a new series to have alongside the What Ifs.
Yes,
Or yes, so me and Ben have got the timey-wimey wheel. So we are going to
yes,
be interjecting Doctor Who episodes, starting with
cool.
the movie. And then the rest of us have got the What If wheel, which we
Yep,
started in a few weeks. But I think maybe
yep.
we should continue watching these episodes in order,
I
and
love it.
reviewing, yeah,
Let's do it.
reviewing two at a
I'm in.
time.
Always,
Okay. Well then, so
always.
the next time, I'm not
Do
entirely
this.
sure when the next episode will be because scheduling.
Yeah,
But
we'll
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
And
But I
and
think
you and Emu have TOS rewatches.
yes, but I don't know
And
when we're
at
gonna
some
get
point,
to
I would
them.
love to.
Yeah, I'm not entirely
And
sure when
honestly,
we're gonna
I
get
would
to
love
them.
to be. And if you want a, shall we say, a kinder voice on
I
TOS,
think we were actually quite kind. I think we were quite kind in our views from looking at it from a very modern point of view. Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
always going to cause controversy watching the original series. I think we were
I
quite kind because we gave we didn't give really bad scores. We gave threes and fours.
You were kind of rough on Balance of Terror.
Which one's Balance of Terror?
That's the submarine episode with the Romulans.
Oh yeah, I found that a very difficult watch because I felt very much like it was a submarine and it's very
That's
different
the entire point of it.
style. It's a very different style of Star Trek than what I'm used to. But I'm
Mm,
obviously watching it from a modern point of view. I'm not watching it
yes,
from
yes.
a view
Honestly, what we should
of
do is
20
probably
years
do.
ago.
You know what we should probably do? We should do rewatches of all the series. You
Well,
know,
that's kind of what I eventually might do. But I very much am cautious that I want to do the what ifs because everyone was
yes.
very excited about that. And
I
we've
love the what ifs. Yes,
the what if will. I will be creating that soon.
and we need to get some more. Honestly, the one part of the what ifs that we need, where I don't feel right including it exactly, we need to get more of the X-Men what ifs in there.
Yes, that's very much where me and Emu and I need to put some suggestions out there. That's very much on our to-do list, but I have very much enjoyed watching the animated series. And I think everyone should maybe watch it along with us and comment below.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Totally agree. Like, comment, subscribe.
Very much.
Opinion welcome. Um, and if you know what the next episode of TAS is, keep it in spoilers. Don't let don't spoil our dear hostess.
I might watch it tonight, to be fair. I am home alone. So I might watch it tonight, but we'll see. But until next time, stay safe, keep writing. Bye.
And live long and prosper.